Welcome to this episode of Office Hours. I'm Gene Natali, co-founder and a CEO of Troutwood. You're listening to Watching Trees Grow, a podcast by Troutwood. Today's episode, I want to invest, but Gene, how do I even start? That's how we started week 7 of my class at the University of Pittsburgh. And I appreciate that was the dialogue and the context. We're into investing. We're into the fun stuff. We're into that, grow your wealth versus just maintain it piece of the semester. But I want to step back for 1 minute. I had a thought that's been sitting in my heart, an observation over the weekend. I have close to 20 years experience in the finance industry, a master's degree from Carnegie Mellon University, a CFA charter holder. And at times I find myself meaningfully confused by the industry jargon. I find myself, even at this day and age, looking at compound interest on paper and spreadsheets and finding it unbelievable. So I asked my students, most of who are seniors, college seniors, I said, do you believe at this point in this semester, do you believe what we're talking about when we take this concept of building a working financial plan for you to implement over the course of your career and your life? Do you believe that these very big numbers at the end of that journey are even possible? And to put context around that, at this stage of their life, my students have had summer jobs, part-time jobs on campus. The biggest paycheck they've seen doesn't correlate all that positively with these giant numbers of what's possible with a working financial plan. And I'll add what's necessary. We'll talk about that. And it sparked some good dialogue. One of my students said, Gene, I believe that the numbers in my plan are possible because I've done a lot of reading, I've educated myself, but I just don't understand how it works. I see that it works, I read that it works, but I don't understand the nuts and bolts of how it's going to actually happen. We're going to talk about that today with 5 steps on how to start investing. And my bold statement before giving those 5 steps, investing matters more today than it has at any point in our nation's history. And this is because of the declining availability of the traditional pension fund, questions about Social Security. We as individuals have never been more responsible for our own financial independence, our financial security. And that's what makes personal finance so important. I have 40 students. We need to have a lot more in that classroom. So how to get started investing in 5 steps. First, knowledge. Without knowledge, without confidence, without understanding, you are less likely to implement a plan, even if you take the step of building one. So knowledge is number 1 in terms of the steps to start investing. Number 2, you need money, primarily in the source of a job. With money, you can take the next step. Step 3, opening a bank account. The statistics on unbanked in America remain too high. To any banker friends listening to this episode, we've got to do more to give access to every young person to have that first bank account. Because once I have a bank account, I can move on to step 4, which is opening an investment account. And this is important. This was then the largest section of our conversation in class today. Many students think after I open the investment account, I'm investing. When I slide money from my bank account into my investing account at the account opening stage, I'm not investing money yet. The authentication process is taking place, ensuring that I am who I say I am, that the money's coming from my bank account where I said it's coming from. After that authentication is complete, I then move on to step 5, choosing the investment within my investment account. I'm going to just take a quick example. I'm a college senior at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm taking Gene's personal finance class. I'm reading the missing second semester, Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money. I've gained the knowledge and the confidence I want to invest. Because I'm a senior, I've secured a job, a good job. I'm going to have a steady source of income beginning here in a couple of months. I have a bank account, so I can skip over step 3. I don't yet have an investment account, but I'm ready. So I'm going to take the 15 minutes. I'm going to hop on a Google. I'm going to find an investment company that fits my personality type. We used 3 in class today: Vanguard, Fidelity, and Charles Schwab. These were the 3 that we went to their websites, did some modeling, selected investments, had a little bit of fun trying to remove the fear associated with taking step 4. Remember earlier I said this is when the pause happened. It's a big step to do this. It's an important step. Those that have, be proud. And let me throw in a disclosure at this point in the podcast as well. Investing within the context of how we talk about it at Troutwood, that I talk about it in this podcast, is a long-term relationship. We aren't talking about buying and selling individual stocks or speculative on possible investment types. We're talking about building a financial plan and implementing a long-term strategy. Folks like Warren Buffett talk about this regularly. Owning an index fund like the S&P 500 or a target date fund and owning it for a long time. And that's the bridge. Continuing with this example, if I have a student that selected Vanguard as their investment account, the investment type can be the S&P 500 or a target date fund. I'm going to pause there because we brought a ton of information in this episode, and I had a number of students stay after class to ask questions about, well, how do I buy the S&P 500? And we talked about things like mutual funds, ETFs, and did some examples. That's worth a separate episode. I'm going to conclude with a short but a fun story, because using this analogy, I have 40 students in class, and there should be thousands, because every student at the University of Pittsburgh deserves this education. They deserve a financial plan to build, to grow, and to live with. I had a student approach me who last summer, his girlfriend had recommended that he read The Missing Semester. After reading it, it sparked his own personal interest in taking ownership of his financial plan. Internally at Troutwood, we call individuals like his girlfriend force multipliers. That's someone who, read The Missing Semester. In her case, it was in a high school classroom. She had read it a few years ago, recommended it to him. She shared the knowledge. The reason that I'm concluding with this story is this generation of high school and college students and the generation just ahead of them, you are graduating into a world where you are the CEO of your financial future. Fact. Look in the mirror. You cannot depend on anyone other than yourself to take the steps, the actual steps necessary to achieve your goals. Yes, you're going to have help from your employer, from folks all around you, but you've got to take the step. Thank you for tuning in to week 7 of Office Hours. I'm Gene Natali.